Are we rolling? I do believe we're rolling. Get this coffee going here that my lovely wife made for me. Gotta start off with a slurp. Once again, it's good coffee. She always makes good coffee. And once again, I suck her in for another second slurp here. All right. I'm going to mosey on over there and show my handsome features to you. And I hope you're going to enjoy this video. Okay, here I am. All right, this is going to be a bench testing video. I should do the old intro, right? Welcome to Dumpster Divers, another edition of Dumpster Divers PC reclamation home videos. All right. We're non-monetized. YouTube did ask me to monetize at one point. I told them no. I prefer to have my freedom of speech and expression protected and say what I want to say. I don't cater to any hardware companies, you know. If I say, oh, well, Asus has a good product here, you know, I can say that. Or if I say, hey, listen, you know what? Asus is pulling a lot of stunts these days. Buyer beware. I can do that. I don't owe anybody anything. So one thing about these very amateur videos that I'm giving you is the straight goods, the unprocessed, unrefined, uncensored, you know, approach from a guy who's been building PCs for maybe around 22 years. Definitely the better part of 20 years. Like, I'll give you that. The better part of 20 years. And you know, you can take it or leave it. You know, it's totally up to you. You know, what information I give you, you can use it, you know, for your own purposes. You can mock what I say. You can whatever. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm too old to care. I'm like, okay, you know, some of you have actually asked me how old I really am, and well, my father used to say when people would ask him how old he was, he'd always say, old enough to know better, young enough to do it again. So there's your answer. I'm not 70. I'm not 70 yet. I'll just put it that way. But I'm getting there. And so the main theme of my videos is basically restoration of older systems, older PCs, keeping them out of recycling bins and dumpsters and whatnot. You know, I think it's atrocious how so many old PCs are being tossed away. And I can't save them all, right? I can't. What I would like to do is get other people to learn how to save their own PCs and maybe even their own laptops. But here's the thing. Recently, somebody asked me to extract some data from their laptop. And no problem, I can do that. You know, they wanted me to save their, you know, family pictures and important documents and everything and move them all over to an SSD for them. But they also wanted me to buy their laptop. And I said, well, I'll have a look at it, you know. But the laptop was so slow and they obviously didn't have a lot of knowledge regarding proper operation of an operating system, especially on a laptop. It was an AMD 10 quad core, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, AMD's okay. Just like Intel, you know, some CPUs are really good, some CPUs are so-so, some are terrible. But so I'm not dissing AMD, but this particular quad core is, let's just say, not the fastest CPU going. But not only that, they had 2 virus scanners that I could see offhand already on the machine. You don't want to put, here's a tip, you don't want to put more than 1 virus scanner on an operating system. Because what happens quite often is one virus scanner will detect the other virus scanner, it'll think it's a virus, all right? Because it's, you know, doing all that intrusive stuff, and all of a sudden it sees another program doing something similar, right? And it is intrusive. That's the only way that it can actually get in there and find the viruses, because that's how the viruses are in there. They're intrusive, right? Okay, so you have to trust something at some point if you're going to use a virus scanner. So choose wisely, choose carefully. I choose Russia. Yeah, that's right. I like Kaspersky. But anyway, I'll put that aside. Some of you probably don't want to do that, but I'm very happy with Kaspersky. I've never had a problem with them. They're very thorough, but they're a little pricey. But they really do their job, and they really do catch viruses or malware or anything like that. And of course, they're paid for. You know, they're not cheap. But the crew at Kaspersky, shout out to you boys at Kaspersky. This Canadian says hello, and I hate politics and all that crap. So, you know, I just can't people just get along? You know, my eldest daughter used to say that to me. She'd go, Dad, can't people just get along? You know, I'm sure parents have had many times children just say that, things like that. Why can't people get along? And yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, you know, like, but even kids, you know, get into conflicts and things like that. But it's a good lesson in dynamics and social interaction. But I digress, as I often do. I can get away with that because I'm not a professional, I'm just an amateur. But that doesn't mean you can't learn anything from this channel. And I'm doing this strictly as a labor of love, and I love my liberty, I love my freedom of expression. I say what I think, you know, and anybody who doesn't like it can move on. It doesn't matter to me, because I'm not, you know, you're not hurting me any. I'm not like begging for viewers. I mean, I'd like it if you would subscribe, but if you don't want to subscribe, that's fine. I don't care, because, you know, but if you do subscribe, great. You know, one of the reasons why I would like subscribers, not because I want to make money, because I'm not monetizing. I don't make a red cent off this, okay? But I'd like to get my message out there that older PCs, older hardware can be saved. And you don't have to go and get the latest, greatest, bleeding edge hardware, and lots of times it's not better anyway. But you know, as a service to my environment, as a service to the public, you know, why waste your money? You know, it's so hard these times. I mean, your savings. Why would you do that? Why would you? If you can make a used computer work better than a lot of new ones, which you can, you really can, if you know what you're doing. Pardon me. Why do it? And why why put a PC in the recycling bin when you don't have to? That's basically what the theme here is all about. And I have featured new PCs or laptops, new hardware. I have done that on occasion. But predominantly, I am, focused on restoring new or older hardware and older PCs. When I see a really good deal on some new product, I will, pass it on, the information, but that's rare. If I find new hardware that's really good, I'll also pass it on, but the information, but and just based on my personal experience, my opinion. But this is about bench testing, this video, essentially, and I suppose I should have maybe gone through the step-by-step process of how to put a system board on a bench test. Did I put the legs on this? I guess I did put the legs on this thing. All this time I've had this thing and I don't think I put the legs on it. I don't care. Here's the thing. This old thing, you could put LN2 on this thing. It's solid steel, right? You could use liquid nitrogen on this bench test. We're not going to be doing liquid nitrogen, by the way. I don't do LN2. But there are different kinds of bench testing. And, some people, they like if they're going to bench test their CPU and do overclocking, that's when they can do LN2, and pour on the nitrogen and see how fast they can go. I don't know, it's an ego flex I've never really fully understood, because that's not normal day-to-day usage. It's not even commercial industrial usage. It's like, where is the practicality in that? Well, it's just, a contest. You know what kind of contest I'm talking about, right? It's a contest. So, whatever. Hey, if it floats your boat, go ahead, do it. It's nice breaking barriers and learning about stuff like that too. But I've watched a few videos on LN2 and it's okay, fine. But it's entertainment. Kind of like, drag racing. They burn all that fuel for like 10 seconds or whatever. See how fast those dragsters can go. Whatever. But so what I'll do is I'll just point out, okay, that the basics that you need to get your system board up and running on a bench, right? And essentially, you're going to need a power supply. This one is not plugged in. This power supply is only 430 watts. I'll lift it up here to show it maybe to the camera. I don't know if it'll show or not. I don't have a camera person. This is another thing I love about this, even though it's not a bona fide bench tester, I've got extra. I can use, like I've seen some of these benches, they're $300 and you can't even do this with it. You can't, there's nothing extra to put a power supply on. See, originally it belongs over here, connected to here, but this setup is so temporary, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take it and set it on the table and go with that. Now it's 430 watts, which isn't a lot, especially for a workstation full EATX system board. You're probably going to want more power than that. But just for the purposes of testing, what we're testing, you don't need a lot of power. This old Sapphire graphics card, it served me well. It's a nice little tester card, and it's handy because it has 3 different ports I could try to use to connect to an older style monitor like this one. It'll give me HDMI, it'll give me DVI, and even the old-fashioned, oh man, I forgot the name of it, it's been that long. The really old one, okay? Anyway, I'll call it that and it'll come back to me at some point here. It's annoying, I can't remember that. There's HDMI, DVI. What's the old one? I can't believe I forgot it. I don't use it anymore. Anyway, there's one even older than that, RCA. But anyway, we won't get into that. But nobody uses it anymore. But this card provides all three of those. So I like using this card for, just popping in, testing to see, because it'll still give me video. That's all I need right now. I just need the video. I'm not, I'm not bench testing graphics cards here. I just want to make sure that my system board is up and running and that the main features on the system board are functional. And you can do that with you should do it, but I recommend you do it. Like you don't need anything fancy like this. You can put it right on top of a cardboard box if you want. The box that the system board came in. Okay, I recommend maybe some static protection just to be safe, but you don't have to. Most system boards have their own built-in static protection these days. But yeah, I just want to show you what the essentials are. Now, there's going to be your power connectors, like your SW. SW is just short for switch. Okay, your hard drive, and your lights maybe for your LEDs to let you know, when your hard drive activity is there. Power to your board, right? That type of thing. That's switched there with these pins. Now, some people say, you can just like jumper your power supply. I don't recommend that, okay? You can use that to test your power supply if you want, but I don't recommend taking a screwdriver and jumpering things, okay, on your... Try to stay away from that because stuff happens. But so, if you're having trouble reading the tiny, tiny little letters like I have, I'm visually impaired in my old age, so you can always use one of these. Good old-fashioned magnifying glass. Comes in handy. Very good for reading to make sure that you've got the right wire connected to the right pin. These are called pins, right? And you just connect them to your system board. And basically it's just for your on-off button, your switch, and your LED in the front, that light that lets you know that there's activity going on, that your CPU and your memory are working together with your hard drive, and then you will see hard drive activity light, right? Going on, flickering maybe, and that sort of thing, right? So this is one of the essentials. You must have all these pinouts connected. Yes, I say it's a must. You must. No jumpering, no foolishness. Get them connected. The second thing, this is not maybe as essential, but you want some kind of USB connectivity. I mean, if you want to test to see if your USB works, don't you? This is USB 3. Interestingly enough, this system board does not have any USB 2.0 ports on it. It's all USB 3 and up, okay? That's fine, I have a card here that's going to give me a little USB 2.0 because sometimes you really don't need that speed. You don't need USB 2.0 or 3.0 or 3.1 or 3.2, Gen 2 or Gen 4, whatever. You don't need that kind of speed or a keyboard. You know, USB 2.0 is as fast as that keyboard ever going to go. Okay, so just saying, you know, you don't have to have that. Maybe there's some really extensive keyboards out there that do something, that have some kind of built-in processor that, you know, really requires like fast speeds. I don't know of a keyboard that, you know, really has to be USB 3 or higher. But as a rule, USB 2.0 is more than enough. You can still use it on standard USB 1 for that matter, but I'm not going to get into that because you don't get that too much these days. But we do restore older PCs that still have the standard USB, you know, so every once in a while I'll service one of those. So USB, your power switch, your power connectors for to your system board, like just the switch connectors, right? And for your hard drive, LED. Next, this is essential, not optional. Your main power cable to your system board, you will need that. And again, you know, in this case, you would it doesn't show in the camera, but there's another. I'd have to take the camera and bring it over and show it to you. And at some point, I might just do that. Another connector for the VRMs here, the CPU, do use a lot of power, but you can get away with one. But here's the point: if you're just going to use one, make sure that your CPU power, which is this cable here, and it's hidden behind this graphics card, so you can't really see that either. And you know, I don't have an overhead camera. I don't have all the expensive equipment that you know, people who are paid, like Kerry Holtzman have, you know. And Kerry, shout out to Kerry, he's, man, that guy. Kerry's got a lot of good information. He's probably been building PCs as long as I have. And so if you have if you really, you know, want to learn about PC building and things like that, he's the man. I mean, you know, there are things about him. It's funny. We're all eccentric, you know, it seems. Like PC people are almost like a different breed, like PC builder people. And, you know, he has his eccentricities. But, and he may come off maybe a little arrogant at times, you know. But, I think I do sometimes, you know, or maybe a bit flippant. But, you know, he's entitled to his views. I respect the man because he's knowledgeable and he's been at it for a long time and he knows what he's doing. Okay, so there it is, right? But I'm kind of coming from a different direction, right? I'm into the restoration thing. But he's building all like new stuff, and but he does repair, you know, some of the other less new things, and sometimes he puts a repair on his does a repair video, but he's predominantly, you know, focused on new hardware. So getting back to your essentials, you're going to need your power to your board, you're going to need your power to your CPU, and don't ever turn on your system board until you've got those two things connected, okay? And make sure that you have this connected as well, okay? Or there's going to be serious issues with your board. You can cook your board that way, overheating it. So I just want to say that. And it's even in the manual for this. Another thing with used equipment, hardware, you can look up the manual. Generally, the manufacturer will have the manual. It's not hard to find online. Okay, so if you don't have the manual, I didn't get the manual with this system board. I found it online. just you know, checking out the specs on some of the things here. And I had to actually verify that there are no USB 2.0 headers on this. On my X299 there are. It's very unique kind of a board. And that's fine. In fact, that I thought to myself, well, isn't that brilliant? Because, I mean, if you need extra USB after all the USB, the connectivity that it offers at the back of this board, it's USB 3.0 galore, or 3.1. I don't think there is any technical 3.0 in existence anymore. It's all like 3.1. You know how they changed the name? That's crazy. But yeah, they changed it. They changed the whole standard. So 3.0 is 3.1 and 3.1 is 3.2. And then the faster 3.2 is 3.2 Gen 2. You know, anyway. And I've got 3.2 Gen 2 on here too. There. These things are essential, and it said that right in the manual. So I've got the bare butt minimum here. And that's all I need for testing what I want to test to make sure that the features work. Okay, I have an old server fan, AVC server fan, on top of a solid copper block on this CPU. So it does get a little hot, but a solid copper block that's finned, and that's my heat sink. It's not held down with anything, and a little bit of thermal paste, right? And that's good enough for my testing purposes. It's not like I'm trying to overclock on this. I'm not trying to do, you know, I'm not trying to stress test it. You don't want to run a stress test unless you have a properly secured, you know, 2 standard cooler on your board, all right? Or you're using LN2. But yeah, you definitely don't want to stress test anything. You can run stress tests on system boards, but make sure that you have everything that system would need, as though it were already in a computer case. Okay. What I'm basically doing here is just testing the main features of the board. So, okay, your power cables to your board, your USB, just to test to see if the USB works. I've got a little card in here that I may hook up. I've just got it in the slot. It's fine like that. Just to test to see if I can run the extra USB. But that's what I'm getting back to is, if you really want extra USB, well, there are cards. There are cards that will give you front and back connectivity for USB 2.0, 3.0, 1.0, whatever. And there you go. You know, so why build extra cost into the board for that kind of extraneous stuff when you could, you know, you've got 7 slots here. You know, that's the wonderful, great thing about a workstation, a real workstation board, is that I've got, let's see, 1 where it plugs into, this covers up another one. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PCIe slots. Okay, very handy with a workstation board. So I can use one of those to get extra USB connectivity. And so yeah, there we go. So they eliminated that from this board, and I think, yeah, rightly so. Good idea. Okay, so I'm standing up here for a reason. I'm probably going to have to pick up the camera a little bit, but I think it's a little important to show you. I don't know how much light I have here, but I'm going to try to show you what I mean, because this is essential. You have to have these connected if you're going to appropriately run your test bench. All right. on your system board. Okay, so right here, you notice that there's a second one here, and so this is not an adequate power supply for this board. Like, it works in a pinch, right? But it's not going to power everything up, and I really recommend getting a better power supply so you can put both of these in. Okay, here, your CPU power. Hold on here. It's down here, right there. Do you see that? Right here. That's your CPU power to your board. Okay. Of course, a fan helps. So make sure your fan is connected to the fan header for the CPU. It should say CPU on your system board. Or if not, then check your manual. Find out where your fan for your CPU goes. And the reason for that is because it's designed so that it speeds up as it gets hotter, the fan. So you want that for sure. Okay, so essentially that's it. I've already got the USB cable connected to here because I can't connect it to any header on the board. It does have something rather interesting here. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I could zoom in. No. Not going to let me. Right here, a U31G2 to UE3. It's a type of USB header for, I guess, some Gen 2 type USB 3. Very different. And I guess you use that to connect to the front of some of the cases, the newer cases these days, I'm guessing. But as for USB headers on the board, this board doesn't have a lot in that respect. The headers aren't there, but it does provide a lot of USB connectivity at the back where it's needed, so that's good. It's also got the PCIe slots are reinforced for maybe those heavier graphics cards, and some people use a lot of graphics cards together for high-end applications, number crunching. You know, they use a bunch of GPUs, not necessarily for graphics processing, but number crunching and, well, I guess some people would use it for Bitcoin mining, I don't know. But, you know, in some commercial industrial applications, that's needed. I myself prefer just using one graphics card, one GPU. Okay, so now that we have all that connected, I mean, he gave me, very nice of the fellow, to include 4 sticks of RAM. Only 2 are matched. The other one is an actual Micron stick of RAM. But still very nice for him to throw that in and give me something to test with. But I can't tell if all the RAM is working, right? All the RAM slots are actually functional. All the DIMMs, that is. So I'll be doing that too. And you're going to need, of course, a mouse. So I'm going to try that cordless mouse out. And you're going to need a keyboard and a monitor. So let's get all that hooked up. I'll go and I'll put the camera back where it belongs. I've got a battery here, a brand new one, and I really recommend that when you get a system board, especially a used one, change the battery